Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video, we're going to get started with Gatsby by installing the CLI on our computer and using that to create a new Gatsby site. So let's get started right now. Okay, so let's get started, and we first need to install Gatsby. Now, if you do not have npm installed or Node.js installed on your computer, please refer to the Level Up Tutorials videos, how to install Node. I'll make sure that link is available in the description of this video. But really what you need to do is just have npm and Node installed. Regardless of what operating system you're on, if you just Google Node.js, it's a quick installer. It works like installing any other application on your computer, and then you have it available in your command line. So it shouldn't be too much of a hassle if you don't have it installed. Now let's go ahead and get started. Now the fastest way to get started is you can head to GatsbyJS.org and follow along by selecting the tutorial page. Or you can just watch along on this screen. So from the tutorial page, let's go ahead and click the Setup Development Environment and scroll down where it gives you some instructions on how to install Node. Again, you'll want to make sure this is installed. Again, you can always just head to the Node.js site and run the installer. No need for that, but all we need ourselves is the install command to install Gatsby CLI. And that stands for Command Line Interface, as in we're going to be primarily working with Gatsby through the command line. So if the command line scares you, don't worry. I will try to make it super easy. We're not going to be doing anything crazy with the command line, nothing that you shouldn't necessarily know already. The npm install command comes with Node npm install -- global, the name of the package. What that does is install software globally on your entire machine. So let's go ahead and get going by installing Gatsby. Again, I'm going to assume that you already have Node installed. From there, I'm in my command line and I'm going to type npm install -- and you remember they had -- global, but you can just say -g space, and then we can say Gatsby -CLI. This -g is just a little shorthand for the global. So npm install -g Gatsby -CLI. There we go. You can see we have now, well, according to my interface, it's updated one package because I already have this installed. However, for you, it should most likely install this. Now, if you are getting permissions issues, go ahead and just Google that permissions error. The first Stack Overflow that pops up is going to give you a one-liner to fix those permissions issues. That's a thing that can happen in some situations, but doesn't always, depending on your setup. It's not something necessarily I can account for. But from here, what we want to do is we want to create our first new Gatsby site. Now that we have the installer installed, we can simply now use Gatsby command. So we can type Gatsby and then new. Next, we'll want to give this a name, such as Pro Gatsby 2. You could name this anything you'd like. I'd actually probably recommend not naming this Pro Gatsby 2 and just taking this in a different direction. One of my favorite things to do while learning is to take concepts and ideas that I'm following along in the videos and just modify them ever so slightly. That way you can run into some potential bumps along the way and enhance your learning that way. So give your blog a name and let's just go ahead and hit enter. So check it out. Looks like everything is installing. We're seeing some success messages, some received objects, and it's going ahead and getting all of our stuff for us. If you're not familiar with this process, we're basically just downloading the libraries and files that are necessary, and now we should have a folder wherever you have created this site. You should have this folder that is named whatever you named your project. For instance, we named our project Pro Gatsby 2. I'm in my sites directory. I'm going to change directory cd into Pro Gatsby 2. And if I do an ls, you can see all of my files are here. Now, before I open this app up in our text editor, I'm going to quickly fire it up and see that we have a blog going. And in the next video, we're going to dive into the files and the application structure and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and run a new command from inside of your project. Keep in mind, we do need to change directory into our project, and we need to run the command Gatsby develop. Now, Gatsby develop is the command that you use whenever you are working on the site. If you're in a development environment, Gatsby develop is going to be extremely fast. Just wait until you see some of the speeds involved in this thing. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And if everything went correctly, you should be seeing this localhost 8000 is ready to go. And because I'm using Hyperterm, some people ask about that. The terminal is named Hyper. It allowed me to click on this and now open it up in my browser. Now, if you already have an application running at localhost 8000, you will need to stop it before doing this. So you'll want to make sure that you do, in fact, have nothing running at 8000. Now, in addition to this, you'll also see that we have something called Graphical, an in-browser IDE to explore your site's data and schema up and running at 8000 / and then 3 underscores GraphQL. Now, you'll want to also have this open. This is important, and while it might not be important for the first couple of videos here, you are absolutely going to love Graphical. By the end of the series, Graphical is going to be your best friend because this thing makes it effortless to query and test out your data before you're doing it in your site. You're going to be blown away by how cool it is. So we have our default Gatsby starter. You can see up here, and I'm going to also open my inspect. Now, this series does expect that you have your React developer tools installed. I have the latest version of React developer tools. You can see them over here. We're not going to be relying on it too much, but it's an important thing that we'll usually use here, and there. And check it out. Look at this site. I mean, this is nothing extremely fancy, but we have a couple of pages, page 1 and page 2. Look at how fast those page transitions are. We have 0 load times in between pages. So again, this is the benefit of using a front-end framework like React is that, well, your pages doesn't require an additional request to reload an entire page. It's just sort of swapping out the content that's available. And what's also awesome here is that if we head to our network tab, and keep in mind, this is a development. This isn't even production. Granted, there's nothing on this site. That said, if we were to refresh this site while checking the network speed, you can see that this thing loaded in 645 milliseconds out of the box in development mode. And just wait until you see how fast the automatic refresh times are when you're making modifications. The page is going to refresh before you'll be able to tab back to it. That's how fast it is. So in case you can't tell, I'm a huge fan of this platform for its speed, for its simplicity, and for its ease of use. So you can tell we have a new application up and running. It's got a couple of pages, and what we're going to be doing in the next video is diving into the folder structure of Gatsby and talking a little bit about how things are set up and what the expectations are going forward here as far as where to put things and where to find things. So check it out. This is Pro Gatsby. We now have a site up and running, and we're ready to start developing this thing. So let's get going right now. So fire up the next video as we open this thing up in our text editor. My text editor will be VS Code, and we're going to talk about all of the different files. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.